Wars: The Clone Wars is often said to be the best expanded universe Star Wars media to exist. And yeah, they're pretty much right. But why? Well, first of all, Clone Wars is the first animated Star Wars series to release on TV, and it's the first to take place between two of the main movies that fills any plot points that the other movies create. I would go into the story of the Clone Wars, but it's what you would expect from a TV show taking place during the Clone Wars, but there are too many little stories to go into detail about each one. But for those who don't know, the Clone Wars is an anthology series, which means it's not told in chronological order, which is a little dumb the more I think about it, but it's just the way that it was at the time. I also want to point out that this series often gets confused by this two-season series called Clone Wars. This series was made by the creators of Samurai Jack. I'm not going to try and pronounce the creator's name because I don't want to insult him by butchering it, but if you know this series then you'll know what I mean. But this series, although it only had 25 episodes, is still awesome. I would definitely recommend checking it out. So why was this TV series so popular? Well, it was first aired in the UK on a channel called Cartoon Network, which for anyone who's not aware is a children's TV channel, and that is what this show was focused on, it being a kids show. But instead of it just being all kids like Star Wars Rebels is, it's a kids show but not being scared of going to really dark places if it has to. This means that children can enjoy it for being the characters they loved from the prequels, and put them in a TV show where adults can watch and get enjoyment out of the grittiness and the politics that are actually easy to follow this time. In regards to the politics and it being easy to follow, there are many stories in this show that explain the war is not as black and white as people may think. You see in the Senate that there are people who want to stop Count Dooku and the Separatists, as they are the bad guys and anyone who is a Separatist is a murderous villain. However, we find out this is not the case when Ahsoka and Padme go to a planet called Raxus to meet Padme's old friend before the war, who is now a supporter of the Separatists, and it turns out that she is nothing more than a normal civilian who wants to stop the war, much like Padme. This is a very good message to convey, especially to a younger audience, who are the ones who are supposed to be our future of our country, our planet and our democracy. On top of this, the show looks amazing. The colours and the atmosphere always bring scenes to life regardless of the imagery they're trying to portray. If it's bright and civilized, there will be a lot of light and a lot of colour, but if it's a war zone, it'll be dark, smoky and very gritty. But still having those colours in those dark and war zone areas to add to the atmosphere. Now I want to talk about a character in this show and their transformation. You guys probably expected me to talk about this character, and that character is Ahsoka Tano. Now I've often said before that Ahsoka is my most favourite character in Star Wars, and she is. The Clone Wars was made to show her growing up through the Clone Wars as Anakin's apprentice and learning to be responsible for herself and anyone around her. And then Order 66 comes and she has to learn to survive on her own through her training. This show does that perfectly. Her arcs through the Clone Wars and the theatrical movie are nothing short of amazing. Yes, she did get a lot of criticisms when she first came out in the Clone Wars theatrical movie, and I can understand why. She was cocky, she was full of herself, and she needed to put down a bit. But as the show went on, this changed dramatically, and it's made Ahsoka go from one of the most hated characters in Star Wars to one of the most loved, and the voice actor for her is amazing as well. On the topic of voice actors, I do just want to say that every single voice actor in this show is outstanding. From the new ones to the replaced ones, they are all absolutely outstanding. I often wonder what would have happened if they got the voices from the Clone Wars voice actors and used them in the prequels, how much better it would have been to listen to, but hey, that's just me and my thoughts. So yeah, I love this series, but there's so much to talk about I cannot possibly put it into a short video. So what I'm going to do, once these reviews have gotten to the Rise of Skywalker, I've completed that review, or when I've got to the Rise of Skywalker and I completed that review, I'm going to review each episode of the Clone Wars in chronological order, much like these reviews, but they're going to be this length. They're not going to be like 7-8 minutes long. They're only going to be like 4, 5, 6 minutes long, but depending on how much I've got to talk about. And I'll do that for the Clone Wars, and I'll do that for the Rebels as well, and the Mandalorian, and any subsequent Star Wars Expanded Universe media that comes out in the meantime. So whether you haven't seen this series yet, or want to relive your childhood, grab your lightsaber, enter your cockpit, and fly on in.